Have you ever considered that the body possesses a profound, innate wisdom, a silent inner clock that begins preparing for the final passage long before the last moments arrive? Most aging adults often overlook these subtle yet sacred cues. They dismiss them as mere effects of aging, a touch of persistent weariness, or a fleeting, insignificant ailment. Yet, for many, these quiet, fundamental changes surface consistently throughout the final year of life, whispering deep truths that the conscious mind may struggle to articulate. In this comprehensive discussion, we will deeply explore 5 powerful, quiet signs that the vast majority of seniors and their loved ones miss during this crucial, final stretch. Our goal is not to instill anxiety, but to provide clarity and compassion, helping you to accurately read your body's communication, enabling preparation, thoughtful action, and the ability to ensure every remaining day is lived with intention and meaning. Each sign we examine tells a deeper story about the spirit and the body gracefully decelerating, moving away from constant pursuit and focusing instead on essential matters. Understanding these shifts is not an act of surrender. It is an embracing of awareness, internal peace, and emotional coherence. Please remain with us until the very end, as you will discover precisely how recognizing these quiet signals early can support you or someone you cherish in navigating that final season with unparalleled comfort, profound dignity, and deep grace. This video is dedicated to truth, understanding, and learning how to listen when the body speaks with utmost softness. Now, let us begin this journey of understanding. Sign 1. The gradual loss of appetite and the fading taste for favorite foods. One of the initial, quietest indications that many seniors and their families overlook is a subtle yet progressive decrease in the desire for food. This decline is often unrelated to specific illnesses or harsh medications. Rather, it is the body instinctively reducing its overall need for metabolic energy. It usually starts insidiously. You may observe that a previously beloved meal, something linked to deep comfort and tradition, no longer offers the same flavor or satisfaction it once did. Eating transitions from a joyful pleasure to a tedious task. This is far more complex than simple aging. It is a fundamental metabolic reorganization, as the system begins to conserve its dwindling energetic reserves. Doctors specializing in palliative and end-of-life care often refer to this as the body's caloric surrender. As the final chapters approach, energy is no longer invested heavily in the arduous processes of digestion. Instead, it is wisely redirected inward, prioritizing vital core functions, the steady beat of the heart, the function of the brain, and the resilience of the lungs. Consequently, true hunger signals diminish, and even the most cherished foods lose their sensory appeal. Consider the case of Harold, an 81-year-old gentleman who religiously looked forward to his Sunday morning tradition: homemade buttermilk pancakes and strong black coffee shared with his family. Over several months, his ritual changed. He started pushing his plate away after consuming only a few bites. His family initially hypothesized it was stress, or perhaps a side effect of a vitamin. But the reality was that Harold's body was softly entering a new, gentler rhythm, one where consuming large, heavy meals was no longer biologically necessary or desirable. This specific process can be intensely emotional for both the senior and their loved ones. Families often feel an overwhelming instinct to encourage eating, worrying that a declining appetite is synonymous with outright weakness or clinical decline. However, attempting to force the body to eat when it signals refusal often creates only distress and discomfort. The imperative here is not to panic, but to shift the focus entirely toward comfort. Offer very small, appealing portions, concentrate on favorite subtle tastes, and provide warm soups and simple hydrating drinks that promise pleasure rather than invoking internal pressure. There is also a profound symbolic interpretation of this sign. As the physical body requires less fuel, the spiritual and emotional landscapes frequently become more vivid. Many seniors report that as their need for solid food wanes, they begin to reflect more deeply on core memories, the meaning of their journey, and their connection to loved ones. The robust physical appetite for food fades, only to be replaced by a growing, deep appetite for peace, emotional clarity, and closure. Recognizing this change is not about giving up hope. It is about honoring the body's innate wisdom. It knows precisely when to slow down and how to orchestrate its final transition with grace. When this understanding is reached, every shared moment, even if food is left untouched, transforms into an act of love rather than a battle against mortality. Sign 2. Sleeping longer and gradually withdrawing from complex daily routines. Another key quiet signal that many fail to notice in the last year of life is a deeply increasing, persistent need for rest, a physical and emotional hibernation. You may observe yourself sleeping for extended periods, requiring frequent naps, or feeling utterly depleted after small activities that were once completely effortless. This is not simply baseline tiredness. It is the body intentionally slowing its operating rhythm as energy is channeled inward for essential maintenance. This change is rarely abrupt. For most, it commences with a subtle adjustment in pattern, choosing to retire earlier, waking later, or quietly opting out of complex social engagements that previously defined the week. Some individuals describe this feeling as being profoundly peaceful, yet subtly detached, as if the world outside is moving too quickly for their current internal pace. Crucially, this is not a sign of laziness or clinical depression. It is the biological imperative to conserve strength for internal, vital processes. Specialist physicians attending to aging patients often note that as the delivery of oxygen and the efficiency of circulation decrease, the body cells require drastically longer periods for deep recovery. The core systems, the lungs, heart, and brain, are working harder to maintain equilibrium, and sleep becomes their primary mechanism for internal repair. In this stillness, the body not only repairs but begins preparing itself for rest in a much deeper, more permanent sense. Take the example of Eleanor, an 84-year-old woman who historically walked her sprawling garden every single morning without fail. As months passed, her walk became noticeably shorter. Soon, she began spending the early hours simply sitting by her window, quietly observing the very same flowers she had spent a lifetime tending. Her daughter initially felt alarm, fearing her mother was falling ill or becoming depressed. But Eleanor was not unhappy. She simply desired stillness. The vibrant joy she once derived from vigorous movement had gracefully transitioned into the quietude of observation and internal peace. This physical deceleration is often accompanied by a social withdrawal. Seniors may find that large, noisy gatherings or lengthy, demanding conversations are deeply exhausting. They increasingly prefer serene, familiar company or moments of profound solitude. This is not an emotional rejection of loved ones. It is deep, essential reflection. The incessant static of daily life begins to fade as their internal attention turns toward introspection. If you are currently caring for someone experiencing this profound need for rest, resist the urge to push them toward external activity. Instead, offer simple, powerful presence. Sit companionably nearby. Gently hold their hand. Allow silence to fill the space for a while. Sometimes, stillness and peace communicate more meaning than any rushed conversation ever could. Spiritually, this sign is deeply significant. The body sleeps more to allow the mind and soul to awaken to deeper truths, memories, forgiveness, gratitude, or surfacing unresolved emotions. It is a quiet, powerful inner preparation, demonstrating that the body and soul are learning the art of resting together. Asterisk, if you are still watching this video and finding these insights valuable, please comment number 2 below to let me know you're here. And if you haven't subscribed yet, I recommend you subscribe and turn on the bell so you don't miss any videos. Your support helps us continue creating good content to inform and inspire you. Now let's move forward. Sign 3. Subtle changes in breathing and altered body temperature regulation. As the body meticulously conserves its final energetic reserves, one of the most easily missed, yet physiologically profound, signs is a change in the mechanics of breathing and temperature control. You might notice that breathing patterns become slightly irregular, sometimes rapid and shallow, sometimes slower and deeper, or punctuated by soft, periodic pauses between breaths. Furthermore, the hands and feet may start to feel perpetually colder than usual, or the skin tone might subtly change, becoming paler or developing a faint bluish cast, particularly around the nail beds and fingertips. These are not frightening. sudden emergencies, but delicate, ongoing messages that the body is systematically adjusting how it allocates energy. The heart begins its work differently, intelligently rerouting blood flow to protect the highly vital internal organs while consciously reducing flow to the skin and the extremities. The lungs also adapt to this decelerated rhythm. This often makes the breathing sound lighter, shallower, or uneven at certain times, especially when the person is deeply asleep. For family members and caregivers, observing these shifts can be initially unsettling. It may look as though something is drastically wrong, but in reality, this is often a natural, often months-long, graceful biological transition that precedes the final stages of life. The body is simply prioritizing resources. It is a type of quiet intelligence that guides the system toward a lower, more sustainable balance. There is the reflective story of Walter, 79, who began complaining that his hands were constantly frigid, even when the room was comfortably warm. He attributed it to just poor circulation or the generic decline of the aging process. But his physician carefully explained that his body was slowing, causing his heart to focus its warming resources on protecting his essential internal core first. What Walter did not fully grasp was that his body was not failing. It was adapting, simplifying, and easing itself toward a gentler, less demanding state of existence. Another unique aspect of this sign involves the rhythms of respiration, particularly during rest. Many seniors experience what is termed periodic breathing, where the breath gently deepens, then lightens, often in subtle, repeating waves. While it may sound unusual, it is rarely uncomfortable for the individual. Some families describe it as if the body is softly rocking itself into a deeper rest, each breath a step closer to quietude. Temperature shifts also bring increased sensitivity. Seniors may express a preference for extra, soft blankets, warm socks, or a small, nearby radiant heater. These small comforts are not simply luxuries. They are fundamental ways to help the body stay regulated and calm while its internal engine works more slowly. For loved ones and caregivers, the optimal response is not to overreact, but to observe with deep compassion. A simple warm blanket, a gentle touch on a cold hand, or ensuring the ambient room temperature remains cozy can provide profound comfort. These small, aware acts ensure dignity and ease. Spiritually, this sign imparts a beautiful lesson. The body begins to release the need to control every process. Warmth and attention fade from the physical edges and gather intensely at the core, mirroring how external attention moves inward to the quiet space of the heart. It is a natural gravitational pull towards stillness, a quiet, perfect balancing between the finite body and the eternal soul. Sign for declining interest in the outside world and sensory fatigue. One of the gentlest yet most defining signs that frequently emerges during a person's final year is a gradual, profound fading of concern or interest in the world external to them. The television, the daily news cycle, or even previously treasured lifelong hobbies may begin to lose all meaning. Conversations that once sparked intellectual debate or warm laughter may now feel distant or burdensome. This is not apathy, clinical sadness, or neglect. It is the mind and the spirit naturally contracting, pulling their focus inward, prioritizing deep internal peace over external, constant stimulation. This transition is often one of the most misinterpreted by loved ones. Friends and family sometimes wrongly assume the individual is depressed, unengaged, or passively giving up. But more accurately, the individual's core priorities are undergoing a fundamental change. The body grows weary of the world's relentless noise, and the deep emotional heart grows hungry for silence, internal reflection, and emotional completion. We recall the story of Margaret, 83, who had maintained a vibrant, lifelong routine of knitting and playing weekly card games with her closest friends every Wednesday. Over time, she began to frequently cancel these engagements. Her friends grew worried, convinced that a medical issue must be brewing. But when gently asked, Margaret smiled softly and explained, "I am not lonely at all. I just find immense joy in being quiet these days." She had reached a point where the simple pleasure of stillness drastically outweighed the exhausting pull of social activity. Psychologists and specialized hospice caregivers have long recognized that this intentional withdrawal is frequently accompanied by a remarkable newfound sense of calm. The individual begins to think less about the mundane complexity of daily chores and more about reviewing life's tapestry, focusing on memories, acts of forgiveness, and the legacy of love. Some may vividly revisit moments from deep childhood. Others may reflect on the pivotal people who profoundly shaped their journey. It is as though the mind is meticulously organizing its final story, ensuring every chapter reaches a peaceful, resolved closure. Loved ones may observe that communication becomes softer, shorter, and highly edited. There is less surface-level small talk and far more expression of genuine gratitude and deep, felt truth. A senior who once spent time debating politics might now speak instead about what they learned during a lifetime, or express profound appreciation for minor, beautiful moments. The glow of a sunset, a quiet shared meal, the sound of a familiar piece of music. This is not isolation. It is clarity. The need to engage with constant external noise fades dramatically as the desire for internal, emotional resolution intensifies. It is the heart's ultimate declaration. I have seen enough. I have lived enough. And now I simply desire peace. For those supporting someone demonstrating this sign, the best possible response is to meet them exactly where they are. Do not insist on forced activity or conversation. Instead, offer steadfast presence. Sit quietly with them. Share only invited, relevant memories. Above all, respect their silence. It is not an indicator of emptiness, but rather of fullness achieved in a new, profound form. In many ways, this sign offers deep wisdom for all of us. It reminds us that as we approach life's final season, genuine peace invariably replaces frenetic pursuit. What once seemed desperately important, status, loudness, constant busyness, falls away, and what remains is the pure essence, love, acceptance, and deep, quiet understanding. Asterisk, if you are still watching this video and finding these insights valuable, please comment number 4 below to let me know you're here. And if you haven't subscribed yet, I recommend you subscribe and turn on the bell so you don't miss any videos. Your support helps us continue creating good content to inform and inspire you. Now let's move forward. ##### sign 5. Emotional clarity and the deep sense of acceptance. The fifth and final quiet sign that often emerges with profound beauty in the last year of life is one that can never be quantified by medical tests or analyzed under a microscope. It is a seismic internal emotional shift, a deep, settling calm and acceptance that actively displaces fear. Many seniors describe this phase as finally making fundamental peace with the entirety of their life. It is not about passive resignation or merely waiting for the end. It is about an acute realization that every experience, every joy, and every deep sorrow served an undeniable purpose, and that nothing more needs to be desperately chased or aggressively proven. This powerful acceptance often arrives softly, almost imperceptibly. A person who spent decades perpetually worrying about future outcomes suddenly begins to relax entirely. Deep regrets that once felt like a heavy burden begin to naturally dissolve. You may hear simple, powerful phrases like, "I truly have had a very good life," or, "I am intensely grateful for everything I was able to witness." It is as if the heart, after a long, strenuous journey, finally puts down its burdens and finds ultimate rest. For example, Charles, 86, had spent the vast majority of his adult life striving relentlessly to build his successful business and securely provide for his extended family. In his final year, his entire focus shifted. He completely stopped discussing investments, market fluctuations, or quarterly earnings. Instead, he began talking exclusively about people. The old coworkers he admired, the wife he cherished, the daughter whose character he was profoundly proud of. When asked what had caused such a dramatic shift, Charles simply smiled and said, "I just finally realized what truly mattered all along." This emotional clarity frequently catalyzes moments of unexpected reconciliation. Seniors might proactively reach out to estranged friends, offer apologies for long-held mistakes, or passionately express love that was previously left unspoken. This is not dramatic, mandated closure, but a fundamental quest for inner freedom. The emotional weight accumulated over decades lifts, replaced by an authentic serenity. Caregivers frequently describe this stage as a kind of lightness, a serene atmosphere that seems to fill the room. Even as the body physically grows weaker, the spirit feels undeniably stronger, clearer, and more perfectly at peace. Laughter often returns, not because every problem is magically solved, but because everything, including the inevitable, is now fully accepted. This acceptance represents the body and soul achieving a rare, essential harmony. The mind ceases its resistance to what is coming, and the heart opens wider than ever before. It is arguably one of the most beautiful human transitions, the moment when long-held fear transforms into deep understanding, and life, even as it nears its physical conclusion, feels intensely, completely full again. When we recognize this sign in ourselves or in others, it imparts a timeless wisdom, that peace is not the end of life. It is, in fact, the very essence of it. It serves as a gentle, unwavering reminder that every sunrise we have witnessed, every hand we have held, and every single breath we have taken has already been profoundly enough. Acceptance does not signify the loss of hope. It signifies the discovery of a much deeper, internal kind of hope, the kind that does not rely on the calculation of years left, but on the richness of moments cherished. And in those precious moments, the resilient spirit of life shines brighter than ever before. #### Final reflections. As we conclude this deep exploration, take a quiet moment to absorb the true meaning of these 5 essential signs. They must never be viewed as chilling predictions or dire warnings. They are, instead, vital road signs and reminders. Each one speaks softly about the body and the soul's preparation for ultimate peace, not tragedy. When seniors naturally begin to reduce their eating, require profound rest, adapt a slower breathing rhythm, seek purposeful quiet, and arrive at emotional acceptance, this is not the end of their story. It is the graceful completion of one. Recognizing these quiet signs early empowers families to respond with informed love instead of panicked fear. It helps professional caregivers understand that their sacred role is not to fight the natural course of time, but intensely to protect the individual's comfort, dignity, and crucial human connection. Whether it involves sharing a small, warm soup, holding a gentle hand, or simply sitting together in profound, shared silence, every small act of presence carries ultimate meaning. If you are a senior who is watching this, please know this fundamental truth. Your body is inherently wise. It knows precisely how to guide you gently, how to find rest when the moment arrives, and how to unearth beauty and meaning within stillness. Aging is not about passively fading. It is about purposefully returning to the essentials, to what is most human, most peaceful, and most enduringly real. The last year of life, when approached through the lens of compassionate understanding rather than paralyzing fear, can ultimately become one of the most powerful and profound seasons of all. It is the time reserved for giving genuine thanks, for offering and receiving forgiveness, for speaking love freely and without reservation, and for savoring the simple, overwhelming grace of being alive, right now. Thank you for joining us today. We'd love to hear from you. Leave a comment below and share one thing you learned today and how you plan to use this knowledge in your life. Your thoughts are important to us, so don't hesitate to share them. Reading your comments gives us great motivation and encouragement. If you enjoyed this video and found it helpful, please like, subscribe, and share. Your support helps us continue creating good content to inform and inspire you. Thanks for watching, and we look forward to seeing you in the next video.